Hi, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that touches the lives of many, but it's often shrouded in silence. And if you're estranged, you understand this experience. It's grief because of family estrangement. If you've been cut off from a loved one, you may find that the emotions you feel mirror those of grieving a death. But unlike death, estrangement leaves the door open, adding these layers of uncertainty, guilt, and complex emotions. Today we'll explore the stages of grief in family estrangement, the cultural avoidance of grief, and how to navigate this unique set of challenges that cut-offs bring. Let's dive in. I'm Marie Morin. I'm a therapist and a wellness coach. Let's get started. So the stages of grief, developed by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and then later expanded upon by David Kessler, are descriptive. They're not meant to be linear, meaning you don't have to go from one to the next. They can happen in differing orders. They're not meant to be, this is the way it goes. It's just meant to express what could happen and what you might experience. Everyone's experience of grief is different. What we know about grief is that there are certain elements that are descriptive. The first one is shock. When estrangement happens, it can feel like the ground has shifted beneath your feet. And shock is often a first emotion that surfaces. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. And the overwhelming pain and sadness and confusion can make it difficult to grasp the reality of what's happened. So whether the estrangement was sudden or you noticed that things were getting more distant over time, the initial impact is profound. You may find yourself feeling paralyzed or numb or unable to even figure out what's going on. And while this stage is painful, it's your mind's way of protecting you from the full scope of the loss. So it's important to remember that shock is a natural part of grieving. Give yourself time to sit with it. There is no rush and there's no right way to move through this experience. Now, the second one is denial, and often denial follows shock as a way to manage these overwhelming feelings in family estrangement. Denial might show up as an inability to kind of accept that it's happened in the first place and that the relationship has fractured. You might tell yourself, oh, this can't possibly be happening, or you may have periods where you get it and then you don't get it. You might say to yourself, oh, they'll come around. While this stage might feel frustrating, it really allows us time to kind of get into the reality and let it sink in gradually. Denial isn't about ignoring the problem, but rather giving yourself space to slowly absorb it. And it's a protective mechanism, okay? As time passes, you'll find that the layers of denial begin to peel away, and it allows you to face the situation with more clarity. So the third stage is anger. So anger is a common stage of grief, and in estrangement, it can be particularly intense. You might feel very angry at the person who chose to cut ties, and you might be angry at yourself for not saying things or leaving things undone, or even at the situation as a whole. And anger is an expression of pain. And while it may feel uncomfortable, it's actually really a necessary part of the healing process. It's important to find healthy ways to express your anger. So you could write as much of your anger because you're not telling anybody, put it in your personal journal. It can be a powerful tool for sequencing these emotions and letting them flow through you. Some people actually punch pillows, they go on brisk walks and process what they're feeling. What you're doing is you're simply allowing yourself to feel. And stage 4 is bargaining. So remember, bargaining comes as a way to regain control over an uncontrollable situation. And this has a lot to do with control because we don't want this to happen. We want to fix it, right? So there's like these deals and efforts in repairing the broken relationship. If only I had done this differently, maybe if I apologize again, things will change, that kind of deal, right? This stage reflects the deep longing to fix it, to mend it, to gain control of what has been lost. It's really essential that you recognize that bargaining is rooted in guilt and self-blame. It's a sign that you're struggling to come to terms with the situation. And while it's natural to wish things were different, bargaining often prolongs the healing process by keeping you focused on the what if rather than getting onto the acceptance piece. And we're going to talk about that soon enough. And stage 5 is depression. So I hear from a lot of you, I know you're really having a tough go. Depression may be one of the hardest stages of grief to navigate. The loss of the relationship status, the loss of a loved one through estrangement can lead to feelings of deep sadness, isolation, and hopelessness. And you may feel like the weight of this loss is way too much for you. And this stage might also bring thoughts of like, what's the point? Or I can't handle this. And if you're experiencing these emotions, know that it's okay to seek professional help. It's a sign of strength and clarity when you say, you know what, I got to get somebody to help me. Because sometimes depression is just too much for us to do on our own. It's about whether it's impacting our ability to function, okay, in daily life. A therapist can provide this support to help you navigate these feelings and offer this safe space so that you could process this grief. Stage 6 is guilt. So it's a powerful emotion that often accompanies estrangement, and you may feel guilty for not having done enough or for things you said in anger, or just you're angry at the situation that this happened to you. You could be angry over a lot of things. In some cases, there may even be feelings of relief if the relationship was particularly strange. In some cases, there may even be feelings of relief if the relationship was particularly strained and there was abuse or maltreatment going on. And that can bring this own sense of guilt. And it's so important to recognize that it's a normal response in grief. No relationship is perfect, of course. And in estrangement, both sides often carry some level of responsibility. But you don't have to carry the burden alone. Processing guilt involves acknowledging it, right? And practicing self-compassion. It's so important that you lean into this place where you're being kind to yourself and remembering while you're going through this that you're doing the best you can. Stage 7 is acceptance. So in family estrangement, it doesn't mean that everything is fixed. Rather, it's about coming to terms with the reality of the loss and the situation. You may not have control over whether or not the relationship is repaired, but you can control how you respond to the loss. And you get there eventually. Acceptance is about acknowledging the pain and allowing yourself to live with it, not against it. So Kylie Agalias, and I talk about her a lot. The book is Family Estrangement, A Matter of Perspective. She encourages family members that are estranged to focus on self-care and move forward with grace. Acceptance is about learning to live again despite the pain. It's this mindful choice to heal even if the relationship is never fully repaired. So during a coaching estrangement, with the individuals that I get to speak with, we talk about getting on the acceptance train, because I don't know that anyone who's still estranged and cut off from their family members, well, maybe there are some people that are truly grateful, but most of the people I speak with are in turmoil and they're sad and they're grieving. And I'm not sure that this population of people gets to a place where they're like, oh, okay, I accepted it. Everything is all right now. No, I don't think that's it. I think you get on an acceptance, what I like to call the acceptance train. And it's a journey. And every day is going to be different, because you'll find that grieving comes in waves. Some days you're like, okay, I got this. I'm all right. I'm doing my routine. I'm taking care of myself. I'm being around people that love and value me. I'm making sure that I'm involved in things with purpose, and I'm living my life again. And then maybe, boom, the next day or the next week, you're like totally engrossed in a lot of pain and maybe anger or shock or grief, all the experiences of grief and the stages we just talked about, okay? And that's what the acceptance train is like, right? You have this experience of traveling, this journey of acceptance. When we embrace the reality of the situation, we stop fighting it, we're able to break this cycle of suffering. And it gets less about the toil and more about this different place that you're at in your journey of, okay, I know that this is the way it is and I'm not going to fight it anymore. And it makes it easier to get through the tough times. Now, I'm not suggesting that you're not going to have periods of suffering. You likely will, because that's how grief is. I don't think you just hop to it and ever forget that you lost someone that you loved. I think you have better days where you accept a little bit more and you fight a little bit less. So the reason why I did this video is because I'm all about helping people move forward. As you journey through these stages of grief, it's crucial to practice intentional self-care. I feel like I sing that song every day, because what it really means is you're working towards moving out of this state of intense pain, and you're saying, okay, I matter again. And it's part of the healing journey. Remember, healing doesn't mean forgetting or dismissing the relationship, that it's not meaningful. It just means that you're in the mix again, and you want to live again, and you want to live despite what's happened to you. Estrangement, like any other grief, is going to ebb and flow. And some days it's going to be harder. And for those of you that have worked with me, I know you tell me all the time, some days it's harder and some days there's glimmers of hope. You want to surround yourself with compassion from others and from yourself. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope something has been helpful for you. If you're experiencing the grief of family estrangement, know that you are not alone. There is support, there is hope, and above all, there is healing. Even if it comes in small, gradual steps, be kind to yourself as you navigate this path. Don't forget to get my ebook. The link is in the description box. And please hit the subscribe. A lot of you are watching and you don't subscribe, and I need you to subscribe so that we could support your healing journey and that of others. See you in the next video.